There's another question, Mr. Sinha, of course, which you'd be interested in, but I'll get Raj Chengappa to respond to this first. Do you support the privatization of Air India as a question we asked in the Mood of the Nation? Yes said 41%, no said 43%, and it reflects in a way the typical polarization that seems to be taking place at times on almost all issues, even economic issues often seen through a political lens. Raj, is that a big takeaway for you also? When you look at this survey, it seems that on all contentious issues, there are strong opposing views on each side, barring the fact that most people accept unemployment, big concern, incomes down.
You know, Rajdeep, I think the Air India question on privatization just shows how difficult it is for the government, the Modi government, to push through reforms. And, you know, privatization, and Jayant Sinha ji was part of that whole process, is key to a lot of things for India's economic growth. I think when you look ahead, given the fact that politically, as we had said in our cover, that in Modi we still trust, but there are three dots that are there, and those three dots ellipses really are for the economy, and of course some concerns about democracy. So if Mr. Modi has to address some of this, or the Modi government has to address it, the next budget should not be diffident about pushing through reforms. That even if there's a setback in any of the states, particularly UP, the government must move ahead with what is most important, which is it has to continue with the reform process. It has to implement the reform process. The key also lies in if you look at the amount of money that had been sanctioned for infrastructure in the last budget, how much of that has really been spent? How much, have the projects gone through? So the next 2.5 years has to be not only don't cut back on capital expenditure that you want to do, but ensure that capital expenditure is spent. And the focus must be strongly on growth. There must be no pushback. Now, we had a concern when, for instance, the farmers' laws, which was a far-reaching reform but poorly implemented in my opinion, but very important for the agriculture sector. Now, if the government is seen to have yielded to political pressure, the worry is in the days ahead. For instance, if there is some reverses in this assembly election, would the government start pulling back on all other reforms? Labor reform, for instance, very difficult to push through, but will they start stepping back? I think the most important thing is that the government should stand firm, because if you see the results that's coming through in this poll, the economy is number one, jobs, as well as prices. So jobs is something that the government needs to focus. It's not just growth for growth's sake. They must focus on manufacturing. They must ensure that the infrastructure projects that are there, the PLIs, the production linked incentives are ahead, and keep driving the economy.